And this is given the benefit of the doubt. Now,
I will say I like how you did that, because that was real smooth. Because I'm like, that's a different way to think about it, sir.
That might not
say well to keep it a buck real quick.
But I'm gonna keep it a buck. You know, me and Chris been around for a very long time. You know, and he said there was no real rhyme or reason. Well, to some extent, there is. A lot of the Brazilians.
Welcome once again to another episode of the Winner's Circle. I am one of your hosts, Eugene Plowden, and with me, as always, my podcast partner, Chris Walker, Isaiah Gathens. What's up, fellas?
What's up?
If this is your first time with us, I want you to know we are members of the Martial Arts Center Network. On Mondays, you have us with the Winner's Circle with Eugene, Chris, Isaiah, and Angel. Tuesdays, you got the Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. Wednesdays, you got the Traditional Way with Brett Shumway. Thursdays, it's Fists, Kicks, and Flicks with Gene, Joe, and Angel. For more information, you can check us out on all of our social media platforms. Just look for the Martial Arts Center Network on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Patreon. Fellas, it's showtime. What's going on, guys?
Just trying to have a better, a better stream, a better podcast this week and not get us banned. We got the most controversial show now on the Martial Arts Center Network. I got us banned last week for footage. So you want to watch our show because we get banned. That's how bad we are now.
That is, man. That's how we roll.
How's y'all week been?
Oh, we had a good week. Definitely busy, working and at the school and all that. But it was a good week.
All right, Zeke, how you been, man?
Man, it's been good, man. Super busy, man, with the grand opening coming up for location in Clinton Township, man. Just super busy with that and trying to work some things out here in Vegas too, man. So I've been super busy, but busy is a good thing. That means that you're blessed.
Man, you know what, Isaiah? I didn't even know if you were back in Vegas because you said something that you were traveling just the other day, right? Yeah. Was that yesterday? Did you come back out here? You came back out here to Detroit?
I was out there like a week and a half ago, and then I'll be back out there again probably at the end of this week.
Man, just back and forth, man.
Yeah.
But you're a busy guy, man. I don't know. Chris knows this. Isaiah is also an electrician. Also, So on top of training people and on top of running schools, he's also an electrician, man. So this brother is really busy.
In there running wiring, connecting it all up, getting it all done, man. I get it.
And he a granddaddy. Like, don't let that baby face fool you, man. He a granddaddy too.
Yeah.
I'd have never guessed. Never guessed
that. About the big time too. My daughter's due any day now.
Oh wow! Congratulations!
Yeah.
I did not
know that. Congratulations! Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's get into it. So like I said, Chris, you were real busy and missed our first show. But you're here now. So let's give the listeners your background in sport, combat, jiu-jitsu. Isaiah, Chris is a lot like you, man. Like y'all brothers, y'all have done it all. Y'all done everything. So go ahead, Chris.
I started with my instructor at like 3 years old in the daycare. He came in and did a karate class, and then I kind of stuck with it and him ever since. He also used to work as a kickboxing trainer. My instructor is Mike Smith from Florida. He used to work as a kickboxing trainer with like Don Wilson and that whole group out of there. So we had a guy, Ernest Simmons, who actually fought Ernesto Hoost back in the 80s. Once here in America, American kickboxing above waist, and then once over there in Holland in leg kicks in Thai style or K1 style. They went 1-1. But so my instructor has been around that for a long time. So I eventually transitioned into kickboxing, and I had my first kickboxing fight at like 16. But in my karate system, we ran a camp from Yoshikai Karate. We had a camp, and we always had people who did different things. And one of the guys was a Gracie black belt in jiu-jitsu. And so that's like piqued my interest in 2000, maybe 99. The first time I had ever gotten to do anything. I was wrestling in high school and stuff. So I went in there and he was like, "Oh, has anybody got any experience?" And then so I went and grappled with him, and he triangled me, and I was like, That was terribly and one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Can I learn? And then so like that sparked that. And then I kind of started doing jujitsu on and off since like I've been doing that since like '01. But there's like a lot of gaps from my training with different instructors and moving around and doing that stuff. So hence why my belt is where it is. And then I fell in love with MMA first, actually, and I had the worst advice ever. Somebody said, "Oh, if you're doing MMA, don't waste your time doing the gi." And as a young, not bright and not technical individual who didn't have somebody else in my corner telling me different, I focused on that. I had a catch wrestler background with a buddy. And then I did a lot of MMA, and then I got injured with my knee. And then I kind of slowly transitioned out of MMA and then straight to gi. Like, and then so like I poured everything into the gi over the last 7-8 years and worked my way up to a decent brown belt at this point. And so that's kind of my little run there. I fought MMA, I fought kickboxing and all that stuff as well. But like that's kind of the quick pathway there.
Chris, let me ask you.
I'm sorry.
One real quick question. Is there anything in martial arts that you have not done? Because I didn't know, like I thought you were just a fighter. Like I've been away from the whole sport karate. So I didn't know that you also was a kata guy. You were a weapons guy also.
Nice.
Force fighting weapons, CMX traditional. Yeah. Oh, I competed in almost everything. The two things I've actually not competed at in a tournament were self-defense. I've never done a self-defense division, and I've never done a breaking division in a tournament.
Okay.
I've done demo team, and I've done demo team, and I've done sync forms. So I've kind of run the whole gambit at the sport karate tournaments. I've done sport jiu-jitsu. When they did that, the point MMA, when they brought that to the US Open one year, I competed one year at the US Open. I was actually in grands for traditional forms. I was one of the last three. It came down to me, Hamed, and Ross in the point fighting finals, and I lost to Hamed. I was over in Naga, and I got second in the intermediate division in Naga, and then I won the point MMA division all in the same weekend. That was just Friday and Saturday. So like I've done a lot of cool stuff, a lot of losses, some wins. We've done a lot of fun things. Combat sports wise, like I've never done sambo. I've never gone and done like a stick or a knife competition. I've trained in stick and knife before, and judo. Those are kind of the big things that I would like. Judo is actually on my list that I'm getting ready to go work with a guy and start learning how to be traditionally trained in some judo.
Okay.
So that's like going to be my next quest here. But yeah, those are kind of the big things that like I've never really done. I mean, I wrestled. I've done a bunch.
Okay. Isaiah, I'm sorry I jumped in front of you, man. What was your question?
I was just going to piggyback off of what Chris said regarding doing MMA and training in gi. I remember I've trained with Hoyler Gracie a few times, and I remember one of the times I asked him, I said, when you're getting ready for a fight, I think this was back when he was still either competing in MMA or just getting ready to retire and phase out of it. I said, what do you do any different, like to train in preparation for MMA? Like, how long do you train with the gi on, or when do you take it off to get ready? And we kind of laughed at his response because he was just like, the week of the fight, I just take the gi top off, and just keep going, and it was a very simplistic answer that he gave, but it just reminds us how important it is to implement your gi training in there from a technical standpoint, because I think too many people, they rely on and depend on this scrambling or somebody else having poor technique and not giving them enough credit for being as technical or more technical than you are. So you assume that will poorly go for a submission or from a control point, and you'll be able to escape. And that's the reason why I think they discredit the gi, which is what makes it so important. And to hear a legend like Hoyler say something like that just kind of reinforced it. And I just wanted to piggyback off what Chris was saying and articulating a little while ago.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely. And like now, knowing what I know now, I wish I would have trained more gi in that, because just simple concepts that you get just by mastering when you get underneath, like underhooks. An underhook and no gi is a very, very powerful and controlling thing, but an underhook with a gi and a grip, that's a completely different animal. And if you can fight one, you can darn sure fight the other one. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And like understanding the that control factor, and just in general, like when you know, like, and when you don't know, you wish you had somebody to show you in
Right.
that.
Right.
But yeah, 100%.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. Let's get into this week's topics. Number one, I have up here, guys. As a white belt, I want to know more about the jiu-jitsu belt system. Okay, because typically, there are five belts: white belt, blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, and then black belts. Right now, it seems like the people who started in that first wave, that in the early to mid 90s, after UFC 1 and 2, like, so around 94, 95, a lot of those guys seem like they got their black belts 5 or 6 years later. A lot of them out here, they say they got their black belts in 2000, 2001, 2002, around that time. Now I hear, for the most part, people say that it's going to be about at least 10 years before you get your black belts. So why is it that big of a disparity now? Is it because there's so many people in jiu-jitsu now compared to it was back then, where you need to train a little bit harder, a little bit longer to be as good as these other guys? Is that what the deal is? What's happening?
To be honest with you, I couldn't tell you. Well, I'm under Brazilians. They tell you when they think you're ready. And they're really, in my experience, there's really not a rhyme or reason. At blue belt, to get your blue belt from white to blue belt, there's in our group, there's a loose curriculum. You kind of have to know these things from guard. You have to know all your positions. You kind of have to know some sweeps, some subs, how to transition from position to position. You get stripes accordingly, and there's kind of a loose curriculum in that. But after that, I mean, in our group, there was really no real rhyme or reason. It's once you're doing things as you move through the way that your instructor wants you to move and make the corrections that they're looking for you to make. Because sometimes it's skill and sometimes it's your journey. Competitors get a little bit of a fast track based upon their accomplishments and accolades and things like that. But I couldn't tell you. I've been doing jiu-jitsu a real long time, and like I said, I'm still a brown belt. So it is what it is, and I will move forward when my instructor lets me know I'm ready. Zeke, you've made that transition. You're up on that level. In your experience, where is that?
Oh boy. Okay. I'm gonna do my best to cover all bases here. I'm gonna try to get the benefit of the doubt, and I'm gonna keep the buck, at the same time. This is an excellent question, and one of the things that we have to understand, like Gene pointed out, is the fact that there's so many people that's doing it now. So with that said, you have to look at the jiu-jitsu back then and who it was being, who was competing with it, and who they were competing against. So back then, because not a lot of people really knew it or were very technically sound or savvy, you probably can dominate people relatively easier because of the fact that you didn't have as many wrestlers that's involved that has now learned jiu-jitsu and is mastering it. And there wasn't as many Americans that were as knowledgeable about it back then to be very competitive. So with that said, now that there's more people that's participating in it, there's more eyes on it, there's more participants, more competitors, then it's a lot more technical than it used to be, which means that you need more time to be able to actually train and drill to be able to go up against this new batch or new wave of people who are participating in it. So again, you remember the early UFCs, which you spoke about and you highlighted, and you had guys in the octagon with one boxing glove on and one off, getting tapped out from a grapevine and things like that. So I mean, back then you can look like a stud. You can look like a stud back then, and you really would be the equivalent of maybe like a blue or purple belt because you're just whooping on everybody. But after people actually
they don't know they're no belt. Yeah, right.
Exactly. So after people started to understand it, it's like, okay, well, we need more time to prepare. This is one school of thought, and this is given the benefit of the doubt. Now, I will say so.
I like how you did that, because that was real smooth. Because I'm like, that's a
say
different way to think about it, sir.
That might not
Now
sit
you're
well
gonna
with
keep it
some
a buck
people,
real quick.
but I'm gonna keep it a buck. You know, me and Chris been around for a very long time. You know, and he said there was no real rhyme or reason. Well, to some extent, there is. A lot of the Brazilians, when they came over here, they realized that even though jiu-jitsu was almost a cultural thing or like a way of life, kind of like in Thailand, how Thai boxing is, you know, when they came to the States and saw how it can be monetized, you know, something that they've done for a very long time and probably didn't receive as much credit, accolades, or maybe as much financial stability as they could in the States, they made it an opportunity when it became popular and exploded to make sure that they were able to monetize off of it. And to do that, you have to make sure that you keep people involved for a very long time. And when you start finding out that people will be involved for indiscriminate, you know what I mean? You just like amount of time, just with the indiscriminate curriculum, where you just like, oh, well, you're ready for a blue belt today, you're not. And people will continue to stay to seek approval, to pay for these seminars, to be able to pay to come to these different camps and things like that. You're going to monetize and keep people around and involved as long as you can, because at the end of the day, it is what is a business, you know. So yeah, to Chris's point, a lot of times there was no rhyme or reason. If you competed, you definitely were put above everybody else, and not a lot of other activities, you know, martial art related, is that really necessarily a common denominator or a factor. You know, you competing, or how many grand champions you won, or how many tournaments. I mean, it's appreciated. You know, it definitely will help you be able to be looked upon in a different light, because chances are, if you're competing regularly, you're training probably a little bit harder because you're actually using what it is that you're learning. So I get it. But I mean, if you were just a person that was in the dojo, the gym that was training, you were overlooked oftentimes. And like he said, there wasn't really a curriculum in place. Nowadays, it's a little bit better. You know, now that they jiu-jitsu is now widespread. There's not just the Brazilians that are in charge of it and that are running it. And there's a lot of American black belts and people that have schools that have professional curriculums in place. They realize that we have to get the structure together, and then we need to be a little bit better. So now it's a lot better than it used to be. But in that gray area that you're talking about, around that time, those early 2000s, mid 2000s, it was just whomever the instructor, the professor, wanted to move forward. And the longer they can keep you around, the better financially it was for them, because they didn't want to relinquish control like the Koreans and the Japanese did with their martial art systems. So the benefit of the doubt is saying more people are doing jiu-jitsu now. So it is a lot more technical, which means you need more time to train. But then by the same token, honestly, it was just, hey, look, this guy's ready, this guy's not. I like this guy, I don't like this guy. This guy competes, this guy doesn't. And it was just really, really just a random cycle of promotions, you know, and events that led to people either moving forward or not moving forward.
Okay. Right, because like you said, to the advancing curriculum and techniques. I mean, look at how many darn guards there are, open guards there are now. You know what I mean? So like, and the different play-ons and different all that, and it's like, I mean, I've been doing jiu-jitsu a long time, and some of that stuff, I'm just like, I can have it.
And we talked about this the other week. Exactly. Right, this stuff is being implemented and added to some extent, just to continue to, I don't want to say keep the relevance, because I don't think the relevance of jiu-jitsu is ever going to go away. I mean, it's really imprinted itself in the martial art world.
The core principles of jiu-jitsu will be there, but to your point, I think it's like adding icing onto the cake and just kind of over layering it and adding to where it's like, oh, well, you know, we started with spider, now we can go to tarantula, now we can go into octopus, now we can move, and you know, you got all the different little sub things to now. Well, now you got to know at least two of these before you can move into the next stripe or to whatever, you know. But yeah, that was what I was more going with that.
That never happens in karate. They never make a new sidekick or roundhouse kick that you have to learn, and it just doesn't just come up out of anywhere. It doesn't happen that way.
If anything, I see them stripping that, losing a form, taking away one or two forms, moving into that rotating curriculum in that side of it. So like to your point, like it's weird how that uneven balance is working.
Mhm.
Jiu-jitsu gets to add more and keep you there longer, where karate, they're like, nah, I need you to streamline this because it's too long and it's too hard. And I guess, and maybe to who it's geared towards.
Mhm.
That's going to lead into my next question. Do you guys still teach traditional self-defense, or did you swap it out for jujitsu? Because I'm gonna tell you guys, I did. Like our normal one steps that my uncle taught me, like I'm not doing that no more. I'll teach the white belts that, because the white belts, the white belts aren't, used to somebody, stepping and punching at them, or blocking, with an inside to outside middle block or a high block and all that stuff. They're not used to that. So I swapped out I mean, because also we have a bunch of them. We got about 30 something one steps. And I'm like I said before, most of the parents, when they bring their kids to me, they are bringing their kids for two reasons: not to be karate champions or win tournaments. Number one, they're bringing their kids to me for self-defense, right? And the second reason they're gonna bring their kids for me is for self-discipline, right? Those one steps are not practical. Nobody's gonna step and punch at you. You're never gonna do it inside to outside middle block in a real life fight. That's not happening. So I was spending a lot of time with kids who had a hard time remembering what order and which ones they did and which ones they didn't do. And the little kids, the 5, 6, 7 year olds that we teach that stuff to, I was getting frustrated because for the most part, I'm the main instructor when it comes to karate. I have black belts now in my academy that could help out, but for most of the time that I've been in business, I was the only instructor. So it was hard when you have a 7-year-old, you're trying to teach them one step, and the 12-year-old got it and they're ready to move on, but I can't really move the class forward with that. So I have my kids, my intermediate and advanced kids, they're doing the self-defense jujitsu that I'm learning now. So I've added that into the curriculum. And also I have a jujitsu instructor who comes in on Fridays that strictly teaches the kids jujitsu every Friday. So I'm phasing out my one step stage. But I wanted to know, what did you guys do, especially since you guys are brown and black belts?
Chris.
So and the curriculum that I work through is we run through, we don't do the basic one steps anymore. We learn with our blocking techniques how the blocks work and how and what they're supposed to do. And then in fighting class we learn how quick the in block in, the out block in, and the sweeps and the parries and all that stuff are. But our defenses are based on common threats: a push, a wrist grab, a lapel grab, a front choke, a back choke, a bear hug, kind of basic, so a straight punch and a haymaker punch,
Mhm.
more along those lines, in defending the common threats at this point. Again, like you said, nobody's going to get in a fixed position and step into oizuki and step straight lunge punch to the chest, and you're going to throw
Yeah.
that outside inside block lift and then the hammer fist, and we're not really going to work that in real life action now. So we've kind of transitioned that into what are the real life techniques that are going to happen to kids, and what are simple and effective ways to prevent and stop those things. And that's kind of where that is. Some of those things are rooted in Kempo based, some of those rooted in jiu-jitsu, because we do a mount and a guard defense. If you get knocked down and they come down, and you can get your legs around them, how do you scissor sweep, or how do you upa and get them out of from off the mount, and kind of basics. But that's how we've generated our self-defenses.
Okay, that's cool. That makes sense too.
To answer the question directly first, I think that, if I can remember correctly, because I've learned so much jujitsu self-defense that it's hard to remember what it is that I actually learned beforehand. I think that we maybe had 3 self-defense moves total that we learned
Mm,
as far as self-defense. Not talking about one step, so I'll talk about that in a second. I think maybe like 3. And what
okay.
I will say is, I'm not going to blame the system, because, obviously as things get passed down to different, people and different instructors over the generations, things get lost. Sometimes people just teach differently. Sometimes people omit things on their own that they don't see to be important to see value with. But one thing I will say that I love about jiu-jitsu is the fact that it doesn't leave a lot up to chance. It doesn't leave a lot of holes. There's not like a lot of, well, we should be like karate, traditional martial arts. It has a certain arrogance about it. to where it's like, oh, we'll be fine here. We'll be fine. All you have to do is this. Like for years, remember before all three of us started doing jiu-jitsu, our instructors told us that the stuff that we were learning in karate could work on the ground effectively. And then we went with somebody and did jiu-jitsu one time, and they smacked us around a little bit, and we was like, uh-oh, like either I've been lied to or I didn't learn those moves that I was supposed to defend. I was supposed to be able to use on the ground because this ain't gonna work. This ain't working, man. I need something just geared specifically towards that. So the evolution of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu through Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I think that they did a really good job of being very technical and like answering every question. And unlike in traditional martial arts, you were able to ask questions in class and get an answer to it. You know, back in the day when you used to ask questions, oh, you're not at that level yet. You know what I mean? Maybe one day when you get that level, you'll understand it. Jiu-Jitsu, they encourage you to ask questions, and then they have an immediate answer for that. So I'm saying all that to say that I've definitely swapped out, again, the 3 moves. I think I still teach. I think I got them from beforehand. But I definitely fully embrace and implement the jiu-jitsu system 100%. And I double down on it and teach it every opportunity I get. I think it's very thorough. And I think most of all, it's modernized. The things from before, the thing with traditional taekwondo, tang sudo, kempo, thing like that, to keep the tradition, they don't modernize. So what happens is it's almost insulting to them. They're like, this isn't the karate way. This isn't the do way, the way of the do. This isn't the taekwondo way. And it's like, yeah, but this is effective, and this is what they're out here doing now. Like this happened to me and my homies last week, bro. Like, bro, you know. So it's
boy got double legged. Like you can get in the horseback stands and do all the hayas you want to, but when my man picks you up with a high crotch and then turns you on your head, you gotta have some sort of understanding. Again, we do the same thing. We do tackle defense. Yeah, I'm with you 100% on that, and I think that's some of what traditional karate is dying off with. The modern times, the schools that are doing that are keeping the traditional essences, maybe the forms or the way we do the kicks and whatnot, but they've moved into fighting and self-defense more into what's modern. And they're saying that's what you're saying.
Sorry about that, Chris.
Go ahead. I was done.
And to your point about the 1-steps, we do keep the 1-steps, and I'll tell you why. And I thought this was cool. It might have been an accident. I don't know. But we never had choreographed 1-steps. Never. Not once. Like how every other school has, where you are, getting the stance, and then for this strike or for this is your first 1-step, where you in the out block and then you throw 2 punches. This is your second one. You do your down block, third one, you do your up block. We never had that. Never. Not once as kids. You got into a ready position, the person stepped back, blocked down the ki, they come at you and punch. The only gimme you got is the first one, the initial one, it was a body punch. But you have to follow up however you naturally would follow up. And the speed and the power of the punch was up to the person that was throwing it. So it wasn't like we were trying to work, like they were trying to punch you and you had to naturally block and defend. And then when you got past that and you understood how to do that one move, step back, block and defend, then the techniques can come from anywhere. So when I teach 1-steps, it's like at the beginning stage, the punch will come to the body. Maybe a punch will come to the bridge of the nose or to the groin, just to make sure you understand how to step back, block, and defend. But there is no choreographed follow-up with 2 techniques, 3 techniques. And when you get to like the advanced level, they're throwing kicks at you. They might butterfly kick, they might side kick you, and you have to catch, follow up with 3 to 5 techniques. So it would seem like chaos. And it wouldn't look great, it wouldn't look pretty, and it wouldn't look clean. But in fight don't look great, pretty, or clean either. You know what I mean? And it was the realest type of introduction to how an actual fight would start, where a person would actually stand there. They may square, which they may not. And then they come and they throw a punch or kick at you, and you have to defend without thinking. And then at the higher up stages, where you get close to black belt, we don't even get in the stance. We just start from a natural position, and the person just throw a punch or kick at you. So we never omitted that or got away from it because we never had it choreographed. So it always seemed to me, I'm not going to say effective, but it was realistic in the respect that it wasn't as rigid and it wasn't as structured and choreographed as the 1-steps that I noticed and saw at a lot of other schools. And I didn't know there was a difference until I started doing mass trainings or training going to other academies. And then I saw it and I'm like, oh, that's how you do 1-steps? I thought everybody did them like us. My instructor was just crazy. Like, just throw a punch at him. You better move. But I'm like, what the heck? You know what I'm saying? Like, but again, we don't. It's not a big part of our curriculum. It's a very, very, very tiny part of our curriculum for all the reasons you guys just said. A very small part, but it is something that I do still teach.
So your one steps don't look the same ever. You're never doing the same
Nope.
one step.
Nope.
That's
Okay.
fire. I like that.
Nope.
I really do like that.
You damn sure better block. You damn sure
Yeah.
better. You gonna get.
But
you gonna have a
listen. There is no
gonna get a black
prescribed
eye.
motion where the attacker can stop and just kind of let them walk through something
Nope.
like that. It's always live. And to what we were kind of hinting at or talking about a little bit earlier is one of the things I love about in the jiu-jitsu side of it, and why I think that in the self-defense realm, why it works a little bit better, is because there's always a contact. It's always a trial and error. There's no do it in the air, practice on the pad, hit the focus mid, then go see if it works. It's like, hey, this is the movement and this is the concept of what you have to do. Go over there and see what you can fiddle. Now come back. Now we'll talk about that. Then we'll work some movements to kind of work and combat some of these issues, and then go back and drill it again. And so you have to be attentive and you have to be involved with it. So therefore, I think there's a little bit more safety progression in those self-defense moments.
That's true. Very true.
Let's move on to the professor's perspective. You got the move of the week, Isaiah. All right, let me get this ready.
Hey.
I didn't know if you wanted me to play your volume or.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
I'm talking up as it is.
Okay.
So yesterday when we watched the UFC, to piggyback off what we were already talking about, I believe it was the Mason Jones and the Jeremy Stevens fight. I think it was.
Yes.
Where he tried to go for a Kimura from the north-south position and just could not finish it. And for the life of me, I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. And I want to kind of talk about that a little bit. And obviously, this video is older. I didn't make it just for this, but it was a great time to be able to bring it up and discuss it that just happened. This is a move that I really love. I love the north-south position. Rather than trying to stay in side control and fight off somebody from trying to re-guard or get me a half guard or get an underhook and pop up, I'll oftentimes move to the north-south position and work an attack from there and the Kimura from there. And what I noticed is that people abandon a lot of these moves too soon just because they're not taking the time, like me and Chris were talking about earlier, or with training in gi, they're not taking the time to be able to make sure that they're technically sound. And they abandon them. If you are a seasoned practitioner, you should know when you have something and when you don't. Sometimes you have to fight for something a little bit more, but sometimes you just don't have anything, and maybe I'm going to use the threaten or the sweep or whatever, or to get back to my feet. But he should have been able to finish that. So we want to talk a little bit about what ended up transpiring. First of all, I believe Jeremy was grabbing his shorts, and that's how he was able to fight it off, which is a very good defense for this, is grabbing the shorts, because you can't in MMA grab your own shorts. You just can't grab your opponent's shorts. All right. So when he grabbed his shorts, he struggled by trying to pull and get his arm free. Now, the reason this happened to begin with is right here. If you can look and see, that's one of my students, Pancho, I bring his elbow up to my chest. So the minute I get in that position, before you can fight and grab your own wrist, before you can grab your shorts, the first thing I do is I use that arm. See, I pulled it up where the elbow's to the chest. It's separated from his body to where he can't grab his shorts and he can't join his other arm to the other arm. And that's what causes the fight. So when we teach, I try to teach prevention first. How can we not be in this position? So, because what happens is the students raise their hand all the time. And they say, well, what happens if he doesn't? What happens if he Great. Thank you for asking that question. Let's talk about how to make sure this doesn't happen to begin with. And this happens because people are so focused on trying to crank the arm that they don't try to separate the arm from the rest of the body, which gives them an opportunity to grab on their shorts or work on being able to grab their other arm and get that arm fight. So the first thing that I do is when I slide into that position and I put that pressure there with my legs and I have that wrist and I put the other arm in my left arm right there, I pull it up to my chest and look how the elbow is separated from the body so he can't grab the shorts and he can't even grab his other arm to be able to fight. All right, so that's the preventionary thing that we need to look at doing anytime we're in this position. If something happens, all right, that's how we prevent it from happening. But if something happens where the guy grabs his shorts, you can cut the video now. If something happens where he grabs the shorts, because that part's not demonstrated in the video, or joins his hands together, it's something really simple that I can do, and they just call it earthquake. which all you have to do is you just have to point towards the ground and just shake like little small tremors. And the hand eventually starts to actually free up from the shorts and from the wrist. And you're able to turn into like a chicken wing if you're not able to finish the Kimura and still get the finish, right? So these are the things that you learn, people, when you put the gi on. I'm not saying that nobody keeps good without the gi. I'm not saying that. But because with the gi on, you can grab your pants. There's actually so much more clothing that you can grab, your lapel, things like that, your sleeve. You have to learn these different little tricks, and these pay dividends in situations like that. In that fight, Jeremy was able to somehow work his way back to his feet. I think he threw a couple big punches, which he could have put my man out. And if he did, and he would have looked up and said, "Dude, I was in this perfect finishing position, and just because I didn't utilize these details, all right, or I didn't know what to do next, that caused me to abandon the position altogether." And then, he ended up coming back and winning the fight. That's not what happened, but it really could have happened just because of that. No, go ahead.
Right. I love my thing with what you're talking about is what I teach a lot, because I'm not very big. I'm like you. I'm not, I'm 165 pounds, and I used to be 135 for the longest time. So like I don't have the strength to yank up, and I don't want to have the strength to yank up everybody's arm. I glue me to you, and now I use my back, and it's just it's such an easier position. You have, and you do. He was just lifting and cranking and lifting and cranking. It was like, buddy, just take your time. If worst case scenario, pop to where the finger's gonna go. Pop out, lift up, turn over. Like there's like little nuanced things to have control. And I think and I taught this the other day when I was teaching class. It was like, I think sometimes you guys get caught up in the movements and the move versus the positioning and the concept. What do I have? Let me I learned this through catch wrestling, and my catch wrestling coach versus jiu-jitsu. We learn jiu-jitsu is position before submission. In catch wrestling, we always learned it was position, acquire the limb, and then work for the submission, because once you have attached yourself and acquired a limb first, whether it be the neck, the arm, or the leg, now I can kind of figure out based upon your movement what I can do, versus going side control. What do I remember from side control? I was like, all right, side control, grab their arm. All right, their arm goes down. Oop, Kimura. The arm goes up. Oop, there's a key lock. Arm straightens out. There's a straight arm lock. There's a wrist lock. There's all the X, Y's, and Z's and whatever you prefer and what you remember from there. So with that, like, I think there's a lot of people who are just reaching for the move. The move doesn't work. I let it go, and I got to push the restart button because the thing that I did didn't work. You know what I mean? And without that technical training, and without having to be in that position, and having your coaches and people explaining these things to you, and like my style is not teaching movements. My style is teaching a concept and a position. All right, this is side control. This is on the top. This is your goal here. This is on the bottom. This is your goal here. Go roll for 2 minutes. Come back, and then we'll have a conversation. And what did you see? What did you feel? Good. Now there are ways to prevent these kind of things. And now moves are based upon the feelings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that the guys are, and in MMA, you got so many things you got to worry about. So I think sometimes some things fall through the cracks.
And because of the things you articulated and what we saw yesterday, I've gravitated towards teaching principles. Because if you understand the principle, then I think that's going to open up everything else that we work on and we discuss after that. What makes this move work, and what could be the things that would happen that would make this move difficult or not work at all. And if we can understand those principles, then oftentimes we'll stay on the side of prevention, never get to these situations. And then if we do, we don't panic and start trying to use muscle and strength to get out of it. We understand, okay, we talked about this and I missed this step and now we're here. So let me go ahead and move on to the next principle to be able to go ahead and get this finished from where I currently am.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I struggle with in class, man, is trying not to use my strength, because I am strong, but I don't realize how strong. I think I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm not realizing that I'm using my strength. So it's like I said, it's going to take a minute for me to get out of that, as far as not using my strength while I'm working with some of my classmates, man.
As you age, then you understand that it's like, look, like there's gonna be people bigger than me, it's gonna be people stronger than me. I need to find the most economical way, strength and energy wise, to be able to achieve the same result. And when you start rolling with those higher ranked people, those that are faster, that are younger, that are stronger, you're gonna have to really lean on your technique. So it's better that you start doing it now versus later.
Yeah. All right.
You
So
work on your breathing.
Yes.
yeah, definitely. All right. You guys got any closing remarks or anything?
That's
No,
it.
man,
Great show,
I
fellas.
think today was a great show. I really appreciate you guys kicking it with us, and we're gonna keep it going.
Keep it rolling, baby.
Yeah. I mean, Angel missed out on a good show this week. I don't know. He said he was busy doing
He's
some
gonna be
family
mad.
stuff.
He gonna be mad. He's
Yeah,
gonna be putting it
that
all
was
in
a
the
good one.
group.
Yeah,
Get ready.
totally.
Get ready for the messages.
All right, everyone. Stay safe, stay strong. We'll holler at you next week. And we are out. Try to get our music together.
You man.